Welcome to my YouTube channel, Whispering Nightmares, where we turn your nights darker. Here, every story is real, until you realize it isn't. Sit back, turn off the lights, and let the darkness begin. Everyone told them never to enter the abandoned tunnel. But when they heard someone whispering their names from inside, they made the worst decision of their lives. They went in. In the quiet town of Eldridge, people don't fear the dark. They fear what remains inside it. Because deep beneath the hills lies an abandoned railway tunnel where an entire train vanished without a trace. No bodies, no wreckage, no explanation. And tonight, 4 friends are about to find out why the locals still refuse to speak its name. Eldridge was the kind of place where time moved slowly. A peaceful town wrapped in rolling hills and thick forests. The kind of scenery tourists admired in postcards. But among the locals, there was one place that even time seemed afraid to touch. The empty tunnel. Decades ago, a night train filled with travelers entered the tunnel during a storm and simply never came out. Search teams found twisted metal and torn tracks, but the train itself was gone. Just darkness, dripping water, and a silence so heavy it frightened even the most seasoned investigators. The town sealed the entrance, but legends do not stay buried. They cling, they fester, they whisper. And for years, people claim to hear screams echoing from beneath the earth on cold autumn nights. On one such night, 4 college friends, Sarah, Jake, Emily, and Mark, decided to test the legend. They were young, curious, and far too confident for their own good. Sarah, the history lover, had always found the town's stories fascinating. Jake was the bold one, the guy who turned every warning into a challenge. Emily preferred logic over fear. And Mark? Well, Mark used jokes to hide the fact that he was terrified. They reached the abandoned tracks just as the last hint of daylight bled out of the sky. Vines covered the rusted rails, and the entrance gaped open like a jaw, waiting to swallow them whole. "This place looks like it wants to eat us," Mark muttered. "For once, he's not exaggerating," Emily said quietly. Yet they all stepped forward. The moment they entered, the air changed. It became colder, heavier, as if someone had sucked the warmth out of their lungs. Their flashlights struggled to cut through the thick, suffocating darkness. Drip, drip, drip. Every sound echoed unnaturally, bouncing back as faint whispers that didn't belong to them. About 50 meters in, Sarah stopped. "Did you feel that?" she asked. The others turned, but before anyone could answer, all 4 lights flickered, sputtered, and died. Darkness swallowed them. "What the hell?" Jake hissed, slapping the flashlight. "It's probably just moisture," Mark said, though his voice shook. "Technology hates humidity." Then they heard it, a low, dragging wail that rose from the depths of the tunnel. Not human, but filled with pain, layered, echoing, as if coming from many mouths at once. Emily grabbed Jake's arm. "We need to go, now." But when they turned around, something was wrong. The shadows shifted. The path behind them looked different, narrower, uneven. The tunnel was changing. Sarah gasped. Cold fingers brushed her shoulder. She spun around. "Who's there?" Nothing answered, except the wailing, now louder, closer. The ground shook faintly, like footsteps approaching from far away. Heavy, metallic, rhythmic. Jake pointed into the darkness. There's something coming. It wasn't a question. Their breaths quickened, hearts hammered. Fear tightened around them like a fist. They ran, but the tunnel did not want them to leave. The floor shifted beneath their feet, stones jutting out, tracks warped like melted bones. Mark tripped, catching himself just in time. "Jake, wait!" Sarah cried. But Jake suddenly froze. His light flickered back on, just for a moment, revealing a figure standing right in front of him. A man in an old conductor's uniform, face pale, eyes hollow, jaw twisted as if frozen mid-scream. "Leave this place," the conductor whispered. His voice sounded like it had been trapped underground for decades. Then he blinked, but his eyelids scraped like metal on metal. Jake stumbled backward, trembling. Mark whispered, "Please tell me we're hallucinating." "You are not meant to be here," the conductor croaked, drifting closer, his feet not touching the ground. The friends backed away, but the tunnel behind them warped again, shrinking, tightening like a throat preparing to swallow. They reached a cavernous section where the tracks were completely destroyed, twisted upward like claws. In the center, half buried beneath debris, lay an old lantern. Shattered glass, rusted metal, yet glowing faintly with a sickly pale light. Sarah felt drawn to it. "Don't touch it," Emily warned, but Sarah knelt anyway and placed her hand on the cold metal. Instantly, a violent vision flooded her mind, screams shaking the walls. The night the train vanished, passengers crushed between collapsing steel, shadows crawling over them, swallowing their voices, souls ripped from bodies, trapped in eternal darkness. She saw the conductor too, dying, helpless, then forced to relive that final moment forever. Sarah gasped and dropped the lantern. The train didn't disappear. Her voice trembled. "They're still here, all of them, trapped." The whispers around them sharpened. Hundreds of voices crying, begging, mourning. The conductor stepped toward them again, his face flickering between human and corpse. "Run," he whispered, "before the tunnel chooses you." They didn't hesitate. The friends sprinted, guided only by the faint glow of the lantern Sarah clutched as it flared to life. The tunnel roared around them, as if the walls themselves were twisting in anger. Screams chased them. Cold hands clawed at their jackets. Metallic footsteps thundered behind them. Jake reached the entrance first, then Emily, then Mark. Sarah felt the darkness pulling at her, dragging her backward, but Jake grabbed her arm and yanked her into the light. And just like that, the noise stopped. The air returned to normal. The tunnel stood silent, black, empty, as if nothing had happened. They never spoke of that night again, not fully. But the town had already noticed changes. People claimed to see 4 shadowy figures near the entrance, not living ones. And sometimes, late at night, a faint wail drifted from beneath the earth, followed by the sound of a lantern clinking against iron. The friends moved on with their lives, but none of them ever slept the same, because deep down, they knew the truth. The empty tunnel was still hungry, still waiting. And one day, someone else would hear the conductor whisper, "You are not meant to be here." This has been tonight's Tale in the Dark. Join me again for another bedtime horror, if your nerves survive until then.